She parked on my ranch again, so I fenced her in and called the sheriff. I didn't wake up planning to trap a Lexus with a fence, but by sundown, there it was encircled in barbed wire, driver trapped, ego crushed, and a sheriff laughing so hard he had to wipe his eyes before writing the ticket. It wasn't about revenge, it was about the last straw. And trust me, Karen had plucked every one of them. My name's Jesse Callahan. I'm a former firefighter, fourth-generation rancher, and a man who's been real patient about a lot of things in life: weather, livestock, even lawsuits. But I don't do well with trespassers, especially not ones who call themselves property enforcement and think HOA pamphlets override state lines. 3 years back, I left city living behind and bought 120 acres out near Antelope Ridge dryland, a crumbling barn, and the kind of silence you can only get when your nearest neighbor is 3 miles away. Or so I thought. She introduced herself the first week I moved in. Pulled up in a pristine, white Lexus, tinted windows, leather gloves, and the kind of smile that makes you double-check your wallet. "Hi," she said, stepping out and gesturing vaguely at the horizon. "I'm Karen. I run the preservation committee for this sector of Ridgeview." I blinked. "Sector. It's what we call subdivisions out here," she said, handing me a tri-fold brochure titled Guidelines for Harmonious Living, Ridgeview Agricultural Civic HOA. I held the paper like it might bite me. "This ain't Ridgeview," I said. She didn't miss a beat. "It is now. We've expanded. Voluntary compliance, of course, for now." It started small. She'd park by my front gate, saying she was documenting noncompliance. Then it escalated. She began leaving her SUV on my easement road, blocking delivery trucks and my own damn tractor. Each time I asked her to move, she'd flip open a clipboard and start citing community codes. I told her there was no community here, just land and grit. Didn't matter. Karen believed she had authority. Not legal authority, just the kind that comes from being loud, white, and laminated. I tried it the nice way. Left her notes on the windshield. Politely explained easement law. Then I tried the legal way, filed a trespassing report. But since the road was technically shared use, the sheriff said he couldn't enforce it unless I put up fencing or signage. So I did. Big wooden signs, bright red, hand-painted by my niece's private ranch. No unauthorized parking, no fake hose. Karen ignored them. And then one Tuesday morning, I found her Lexus parked inside my cattle paddock, just sitting there, doors locked, engine off, surrounded by a dozen confused steers. I stood there in the morning light, steaming coffee in hand, watching her try to wave the cows off with a copy of her HOA rules through the driver's window. And that's when something in me broke. She'd laughed at my signs, dismissed my voice, blocked my family from getting in and out more times than I could count. So I put the coffee down, grabbed a post driver, and started fencing her in. There's something deeply satisfying about driving a fence post into hard dirt with your own hands, especially when you're building it around someone else's ego. Karen was inside her Lexus, red in the face, phone to her ear, waving at me like I was supposed to stop. But I didn't. Not when she started yelling, not when she started honking, and not even when she said, "I'm calling the sheriff," because I'd already called him 30 minutes earlier. It took me 25 minutes to build a tight square of livestock fencing around her vehicle, 2 strands of barbed wire, 4 wooden posts, and a cattle gate with a padlock. Not my first time trapping something on my land. Usually it's a stray bull. Today, it was a self-appointed HOA tyrant. By the time the sheriff pulled up, Karen was pacing in tight little circles, heels sinking into the soft dirt, barking into her phone like it owed her money. Sheriff Ray Halstead stepped out of the county cruiser, boots crunching gravel. He looked at the SUV, then at me, then back at Karen. "Well," he said, rubbing his chin, "this is new." Karen lit into him. "This man is violating community guidelines. He's detaining me unlawfully. This is private retaliation." Ray held up one hand. "Ma'am, take a breath. First, you're on his land. Second, You ignored multiple trespassing warnings, which are enforceable under state code. She shoved her HOA ID badge toward him. I am acting under the authority of Ridgeview Agricultural Preservation Standards. Ray squinted at the badge, then laughed. Like, real laughed. Karen, I've told you once before and I'll say it again. Your authority ends at your mailbox. You don't get to enforce made-up rules on someone else's deeded acreage. Her mouth dropped open. But nothing, he said. You're trespassing. Again. And he has every right to protect his land however he sees fit. She crossed her arms, then arrest him for false imprisonment. Ray shrugged. He built a fence. He didn't touch you. He called me. You're lucky he didn't have the cows push you out with their horns. After Karen was escorted off the property still ranting, Ray hung back. You know, he said, leaning on his truck, you're not the first ranch she's done this to. That got my attention. Turns out, Karen had been expanding her HOA territory one boundary at a time, printing up rules, leaving fines, and cornering elderly landowners into handing over community dues. Most folks didn't fight back. They just paid her to make her go away. She files just enough paperwork to look real, Ray said, but nothing legal ever sticks. It's all intimidation. That night, I dug deeper, and what I found floored me. Karen had incorporated a nonprofit in the county clerk's database under the name Ridgeview Civic Agricultural Trust. It was registered to a P-O box in town. Her mission statement to guide the moral and aesthetic direction of the greater Ridgeview community. But Ridgeview wasn't real. It was a name she made up. There was no formal subdivision, no deeded association, just open ranch land and a few dirt roads. She wasn't a president. She was a fraud. I started talking to folks, quietly. Old man Griggs down the road said Karen fined him $75 for leaving hay bales visible from the scenic route. She told a school teacher 2 properties over that unauthorized trampolines violated rural character codes. And the kicker, she charged a single mother $50 for emergency water conservation outreach during a perfectly normal week. Everybody had a story, but nobody had stood up until now. They say sunlight is the best disinfectant. So that's what we brought: light, and witnesses, and receipts. But first, we brought each other. Because once Karen's scam came to light, folks stopped whispering and started talking. And when they started talking, something incredible happened in that little stretch of Arkansas ranch land. We stopped feeling alone. It started in my barn. I cleaned out the tack room, set up a space heater, laid out coffee and sweet rolls, and told the neighbors to come by if they had a Karen problem. By sundown, 27 people showed up. Farmers, teachers, grandparents, folks who'd never said a crossword in public were suddenly pulling out files, crumpled notices, weird fines, phony violation logs typed in Comic Sans. Martha, an 82-year-old retired nurse, pulled out a manila folder labeled Karen Lies. I kept everything, she said, slapping it on the table. My mama didn't raise a fool. We laughed, and then we planned. Turns out Karen's little operation was bigger than I thought. She'd registered her fake civic trust with the state using a legal template she downloaded online. She'd opened a bank account with over $13,000 in collected dues. She'd even filed fake complaints with the county code office using doctored GPS screenshots and claims of environmental risk factors like porch swings and firewood piles. Raina the tech from the Secret Service job a few counties over helped us dig even deeper. She traced Karen's email list. Karen had been planning to franchise. She wrote, once we've normalized compliance in Ridgeview, we can apply the model to neighboring rural zones. If challenged, refer to conservation principles and obscure property clauses. Most rural residents don't know their zoning rights. Most didn't, but I did, and now so did everyone else. Karen called it the Quarterly Compliance Forum, sent out invites with gold foil print and RSVP instructions. Held it in the community center gym. Somehow she'd booked the space under her nonprofit's name. She showed up in pearls and a pantsuit, clipboard in hand, with a projector already plugged in. What she didn't know, we showed up too. All of us. Martha brought her folder. I brought poster boards. Raina brought a projector of her own. And the sheriff, he showed up in uniform with a copy of the county land zoning law in hand. Karen walked on stage and smiled like a politician. Welcome to the Ridgeview Agricultural Trust Quarterly Forum. As many of you know, I've worked hard to preserve the dignity and character of our shared community. That's when Raina cut the lights, and our slideshow began. Slide 1, a map of the region. No Ridgeview listed. Slide 2, Karen's P.O. box listed on fake legal letters. Slide 3, the dues ledger names, dates, amounts. Slide 4, the quote about franchising. Slide 5, a copy of Arkansas Code 537-201, criminal impersonation. Nobody spoke for a minute. Then someone, John, the local mechanic, stood up and said, "You've been conning us." Karen tried to regain control. "This is slander," she hissed. "I'm working in the public's interest." Martha, bless her, stood up. "You fined me for growing basil in a metal bucket." Karen, "You said my horse's name was culturally disruptive." Another woman said, "You made my kid cry over a tire swing." Voices rose, chairs scraped back. Then came the sheriff. Ray walked slowly to the front of the room, big hands folded around a packet of paper. "Karen Lynn Hollister," he said, voice steady. "You are under investigation for criminal impersonation, mail fraud, and unlawful solicitation of fees. Effective immediately. You are ordered to cease all activity under the Ridgeview Civic Agricultural Trust name." She blinked. "This is a mistake," she muttered. I was trying to organize, to help. These people are lost." "No, ma'am," he said, as two deputies stepped forward. "They just finally found their voice. They didn't cuff her that night." No, Sheriff Ray wasn't in a hurry. He let her leave through the back, dignity hanging by a thread, pearls jangling as she all but ran to that Lexus of hers, still dented, still muddy from my pasture. But the damage was done. Her reputation shattered, her power gone. And for the first time in years, Blackberry Hollow breathed free. The very next morning, the county clerk issued a notice dissolving the Ridgeview Civic Agricultural Trust. All contracts voided, all fines nullified, all dues considered unauthorized and subject to recovery. Karen tried to fight it, filed appeals, sent angry letters, claimed political persecution, but nobody listened anymore. The state stepped in after Raina forwarded the ledger data and zoning evidence. Karen was found to have committed 4 separate acts of civil fraud and 1 count of criminal impersonation. She got fined, heavily, and was banned from operating any community-based organization in Arkansas ever again. A few residents took her to small claims court. They won, every single one. Funny thing happens when a tyrant falls. At first, folks are quiet, unsure, suspicious of peace, but slowly, life starts to return. We planted wildflowers where Karen used to take photos to document non-compliant vegetation. We tore down the approved structure signs she taped to mailboxes. One man even burned her HOA handbook in a backyard fire pit and cooked hot dogs over the ashes. The real miracle, though neighbors started waving again. And not just polite nods, but real conversations. Real eye contact. Turns out, the thing Karen really stole wasn't money or authority. It was trust. And we were damn sure going to take it back. I never took down that fence. The one I built around her car, I re-stretched the wire, added real posts, and made it a permanent part of the property line. Not out of spite, out of principle. People ask why I kept it, and I always say because that's where the line was drawn, literally and figuratively. That fence didn't just stop Alexis. It stopped fear. It stopped silence. And it reminded a whole stretch of stubborn landowners that boundaries mean something, especially when you fought to build them. Karen sent me one final note, typed, stiff, full of legal buzzwords and veiled threats. She signed it K. Hollister, private consultant. I didn't open it. I shredded it. And then I mailed her back a photo of my fence with a handwritten note still standing. Still free? Just like us. Never heard from her again. You don't need a robe and gavel to cause harm. Sometimes, all it takes is a badge you printed yourself, a clipboard full of lies, and the arrogance to believe no one will stand up to you. But here's the truth. Authority isn't real unless it's earned. And the moment you weaponize community to control others instead of serve them, you lose both. Land teaches you that, so do fences, and so does karma. What would you do? Have you ever faced someone abusing fake authority? Have you seen a Karen try to rewrite the rules in your neighborhood, your workplace, your family? Tell your story, defend your line, speak truth to power no matter how small the lie looks at first. Because freedom isn't just about fences, it's about knowing what's worth protecting and doing something when it's threatened. Or in